Hi everyone. As Spandana was telling, I know that there is someone else who is also listening to the session. Firstly, a big hi. So this session would be all related to a demo for AB Initio. AB Initio is basically a data warehouse ETL tool. So as the name itself is saying, ETL tool, extract, transform and load. Extract. Extract means extracting the data from various sources, transforming the data as per business requirement, and loading the data into database. ETL, extract, transform, and load. So, why AB Initio compared to other tools? We have a lot of tools in the market like DataStage, Informatica. You know, right? We have a lot of tools in the market. But now, AB Initio has got its own edge over all the tools just because of so many extra and additional features that it has got, and it is very user friendly as well. I will be going in details with the features and all others. However, let us just start up now. So, firstly, the objective of this session is to understand the fundamentals and various concepts that we have in AB Initio. So, and as I was talking about ETL tool, it's an ETL tool, and that's the AB Initio Software Corporation. Like we know that DataStage is from IBM, so it's a product from an IBM corporation. In the same way, AB Initio is a product from its own AB Initio Software Corporation. So, and what is the actual meaning of AB Initio? It's derived from Latin and it means from the beginning. And AB Initio can support all the applications. Like there are a lot of applications that we need to do in our day-to-day sector. Consider a banking sector itself as an example, right? That will be a very big example for us to understand why we need to go for ETL tools. So in the banking sector, just let us understand, for example, you are an account opener. You're walking into the bank, you're opening an account. That is one case. You already have an account. Suppose there is one more account holder. He already maintains an account with the bank. He wants to modify or update some of his data like open date, telephone number, address, or whatever, right? So he wants to walk into the bank. He wants to do all kind of update options. There might be someone else, another account holder who wants to delete. So now consider, we have to perform all these operations and tomorrow your data should reflect fresh by the time business hours start. So since we have very less time frame, like you're doing all these things around 3 p.m. EST today, and by tomorrow morning you generally expect all the data for you to appear online, right? So for us to process all these very critical applications, you have to first take the data from the bank, you have to receive it, you have to transform it, you have to load into the database, and later your Java has to show you. So for us to show all this stuff, we need some really quick ETL, and AB Initio very well supports it. Not only that, AB Initio can also help you with batch processing and continuous processing. Let me tell you what is this batch and continuous. So you're walking into a bank today, you're updating your telephone number or something. Okay, you have a little time with you to check that your update has happened, or otherwise. Bank, for its own functions, bank wants to check how they have been performing since previous 2 years or previous 1 year or previous months and all. So, and they have to support few reports to the federal, right? Like in US, you have federal government, which will be actually checking on how a bank is performing. So they will be requesting for some reports or whatever. All the data should be maintained in data warehouse. And see, for all these things, you have little time with you to load into the table, probably 1 day, and sometimes you will have 2 days also. So in that case, what happens is whatever transactions are happening currently today, all the transactions will be taken at the end of business day, will be sent to the ETL, and ETL team will process it in AB Initio and load into the data warehouse. So here you have time. That is called as batch processing. So today morning, account holder A1 walked, afternoon A2 has walked, evening A3 has walked. At the end of business day, A1, A2, A3, all these three people's data will be collected and sent as a single source to the ETL team for them to process. This is called as batch processing. Now, when you go for your continuous processing, imagine your day-to-day ATM transactions itself. You walk into an ATM, you swipe your card, immediately you look at your mobile to look if you have got the message or not, right? Within seconds. So it means here you're not waiting or you're not giving time, unlike batch processing. Apart from that, you're expecting the data immediately, and all this happens in continuous processing. So ab initio is very, very, very quick and very good at supporting both the batch as well as the continuous processings. So, and data warehousing, as I was telling you, we'll be loading the data, and from there, this data warehouse or data mart, they are used to pull the reports. We'll be using some reporting tools. There will be separate teams like Cognos and all others, where they pull the reports and submit it to the federal or whosoever is the intended user. Okay, apart from that, we have this data movement. So we can transfer data from one source to another source or destination. So even data movement is quite very quick here. Data transformation, of course, as I was telling you, ETL, extract, transform, and load. You can transform the data as you wish, right? And transformation, a developer will be able to do. However, how to transform the data, what rules should you apply while transforming the data? All these would be specified by your business analyst. He generally provides you a mapping sheet which indicates what is your source column, what is your target column, and how you can transform the data, right? So using a mapping sheet, you generally take your source, consider your destination, and apply the transformation rules. However, we can talk more about the transformation rules in our regular classes going ahead. It can support huge and complex business streams. Of course, if you can understand, as I was telling, ab initio is quite very quick in nature, so it can process huge amounts of data very quickly without any lags. It can process very, very, very quickly. So this is the main objective and why we generally go for using ab initio compared to other ETL tools. Let us look about the features. As I was telling you, data transformation or data movement is quite very quick, especially the huge volumes of data. Second thing is, it can deal with all kinds of complexities involved. Any kind of complexity, ab initio is very efficient to deal with. Generally, what kind of complexities are involved and how we deal with all this stuff, I'll be dealing with you in regular sessions. Also, it can be aligned with various data source types. Okay, firstly, understand the difference between data types and source types. When I say about data types, it would be string, decimal, date, right? You have a lot of data types, string, decimal, and all the stuff. When I say data source types, for us to perform ETL, we will be needing source files. And who is providing those source files? We will not be able to directly go to the bank, take the data from them. We will not be able to understand it. So there should be some medium between us, between the ETL and the source and the bank, which is transforming the data and giving us the way we require our source file in a proper formatted way. So generally, ab initio, wherever there is ab initio, we generally have mainframes as a source team, right? Mainframe team will generally give us the source files. We extract those source files from our system, and we apply the transformations and we load the data. So apart from files, your source can also be tables. It means you're unloading the data from one table you're transforming the data and you will be putting it into another data mart tables or whatsoever. So data types means string, integer and all others, whereas data source types means what category does your source belong to. Is your source an XML? Is your source a file? Is your source a table? Is your source a queue? Right? So when do we go for using queues? As the name itself is saying, your source will send the data in queues. So this is basically used in continuous processing. However, as usual, even this would be dealt in very depth in your regular stuff, in your regular classes. Now, as I was telling you, it is highly performant compared to any other ETL tools. It is very, very quick because it has parallel processing also, and it has many advanced features with it. Huge options of databases. Yes, ETL. L is for load, and loading obviously happens into your tables. Your loading happens into your tables. Tables reside in a database. Now, what are those databases? You have currently Oracle, Teradata, SQL, PLSQL, DB2, Netezza. There are a wide variety of databases available in the market, and AB Initio is designed in such a way that it can go well with any of the databases. But one point to be noted here is, amongst all the databases, we feel Teradata is quite very quick in nature. And since AB Initio is also highly performant, once we join this AB Initio with the Teradata, your data will be magically fast, right? So 90% of the cases we generally go for using Teradata. However, AB Initio is designed in such a way that it can support all kinds of databases. Going to the next point, checkpoint, debugging and restartability features. As you know, what do you mean by a checkpoint? So whenever you place your checkpoint in your AB Initio, suppose a failure has occurred due to some unexpected issues also. When you restart your job, suppose your job has failed at some point, your graph has failed at some point due to some failure. So next time when you restart your job, instead of starting from the beginning, it will start from the point of failure. That is the reason we go for using this checkpoint, and AB Initio very well supports this checkpoint feature. Debugging. You want to debug whenever there is an error, or generally whenever you want to debug, you have all those options available. Restartability. Of course, you have a restartability feature. And as I was telling you, the first line of my session is it is very user friendly also. So it is very easy to develop. Okay. So AB Initio GDE, Graphical Development Environment. Graphical Development Environment. It is designed in such a way that it is very, very user friendly. And these are the pretty much features which can be talked about for AB Initio. Let me just give a brief on the architecture. I will not go into the details. Details we will deal later. But I'll just show you what are the basic components in architecture. So we being user, we set at the top, we access the GDE. User applications or user will access the GDE. GDE stands for Graphical Development Environment. Whatever you develop in AB Initio, that is called as a graph. In data stage, you call them as jobs, whereas in AB Initio, you call them as graphs. So whenever you talk about AB Initio, remember to mention them as graphs, not as jobs. Now, inside the graphical development environment, you have two major sections. One is component organizer, where a lot of components are present. So whenever you say you're learning AB Initio, you should be 1000% thorough with all your components present in AB Initio. Components basically are like input file, output file, sort, filter by expression, normalize, denormalize, dedupe, sort. You have a lot of components. You have a lot of components which can facilitate you to develop any kind of graphs and go easy with your requirement. Next part is sandbox. So sandbox is nothing but a repository in Informatica or wherever you call it as repository, but here you call it as a sandbox in Ab Initio. So sandbox is a storage space where you store all your developed. Okay. Next one is this graphical development environment. It interacts with two areas. One is EME and the other one is cooperating system. Okay, so let me first talk about the cooperating system. Cooperating system is generally your Unix or Linux. So as I was telling you, suppose you are getting your source files. Where do you store your source files? Suppose your mainframe team is sending your source files. So all those source files will come and reside on the cooperating system. So Ab Initio talks with the cooperating system, takes the files from the cooperating system, performs all the functions in GDE, and again the output will be again stored in the cooperating system, right? Why the name as cooperating system? Just think logically. Your laptop or your computer, it has some Windows or some operating system on top of it, right? Your laptop is designed in such a way that you have an operating system installed. So now on top of this operating system, you're installing one more operating system which is going to help Ab Initio. On top of operating system, you're installing one more operating system, which of course means it's a cooperating system and it can interact very well with the Ab Initio. Now, going to the second stuff, Ab Initio EME. As I was telling, GDE can talk with both co-op as well as EME. Now, let us talk about EME. EME stands for Enterprise Meta Environment. Enterprise Meta Environment. So, whatever you develop in your GDE, you have to take them to test regions and finally into the live servers. So EME facilitates us in taking the stuff developed in GDE to the testing servers or to the live servers. Apart from that, EME also can facilitate us with versioning. All the stuff can happen in EME. However, details will be completely given in your regular session. I'm just giving an overview of the architecture. So user interacts with GDE, GDE interacts with EME and cooperating system, and cooperating system is installed on our native operating system, that is our Windows or whatever. So GDE stands for Graphical Development Environment. This is used to develop graphs and perform unit testing. So don't get confused, what is this unit testing? Unit testing is basically the first level of testing that developer will do before sending it to testing. We have a testing team, I understand that, but before sending it to them, we want to test, right, whether we have developed everything correctly or not. We always do that. Whenever we write an exam, we go and we recheck our paper whether we missed anything or we wrote everything. That is called as unit testing here in ETL world. As I was telling you, we have component organizer, which provides wide range of components that can be used in development of graphs. It can communicate with cooperating system. That is what I was telling. I was specifying about taking the files and all that stuff. What are the features of cooperating system? First step, as I was telling you, it is installed on top of our operating system, our laptop. So layered on top of operating system. Controls and data transports. Of course, as I was telling you, it holds all the source with it, and whenever GDE wants, it interacts with the co-op and takes it. Checkpoint, monitoring and debugging. I explained you just the basic of what is it. Metadata driven components. What is metadata? Metadata is nothing but data about data. See, suppose from your source file you are getting like this, something like Ab Initio ETL, Ab Initio 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. Ab Initio 9 a.m. You are getting it continuously. So being someone who doesn't know what is source, how do they understand what is your source data? Let me give a much more easier example. Consider a school as a scenario. You have students and you have their marks and you have this subject with you. So student name can be something like, first student name is Ab Initio, Ab Initio 10 physics, data stage 20 chemistry. All this comes in a continuous way. Now, being a new person, how do I understand what is the student name, what are his marks, and what is his subject? In order for us to understand what is our name, what is marks, and what is subject, whoever is giving you the source file, generally they give you the data as in metadata. It tells that first 6 letters belong to your name, next 2 letters belong to your marks, next all the letters belong to your subject. So string of 6 is name, decimal of 2 is marks, string of 6 is subject. Once they give that, from the data which is coming continuously, as in which appears continuously in your file, you will cut short and your ab initio cut shorts and takes them into correct places. So data about data. Apart from giving the source file data content, they also give you the DML related to that. That is called as metadata, and all the components in GDE. GDE has this component organizer, right, where all the components are involved. All the components what present in GDE are driven by metadata. Without giving metadata, your source is invalid. You will not be understanding what is coming from the source. That is the reason we call it as metadata driven components. Parallel file management. Parallel file management. So you have serial file and parallel file. In serial file, data will be processed one by one. First record only if it completes, second record after second is completed, third, and so on. Whereas you have a feature in ab initio where you can process all your files, all your data parallelly. So what happens is when you go for this parallel management or parallelism or parallel file, we call them as multi-files in ab initio generally. So data is splitted into partitions. Suppose you are having some 10 records in your file. That is called as a serial file. All these 10 records are present one by one and it is called as a serial file. Now, here you have a multi-file where you have some partitions. Suppose your multi-file is designed in such a way to have 3 partitions. In that case, suppose you use your partition by round robin or whatsoever, you have a lot of partition components where you can split and send your data parallelly into your multi-file. So once when you use your partition by round robin, what happens is data is divided equally. So first record goes to first partition, second record goes to second, third record goes to third partition. Fourth again will go to first partition, fifth will go to second, sixth will go to third, right? That is how your data will be going to partitions and your data is divided evenly. So now when you look at your output, it is a single file but it has 3 partitions in it, right? Each partition is nothing but a separate file again. That is the reason we call it as a multi-file. And whenever you use that multi-file to perform a sort or to perform a filter by also, what happens is all your partitions data will be flowing in parallelly. In serial file, after first record is completed, only your second record will go. Whereas in multi-file, you have 1, 2, 3. Since you have 3 partitions, 3 records will process parallelly, which increases your performance or runtime efficiency. So you have parallel file management. All those partitions related data can also be stored in your cooperating system. Okay, ab initio gives you many built-in functions as well, and as given here, major categories include your date functions, right? Error functions, lookup, very important concept in ab initio. In fact, in any of the ETL tools, I will be dealing that later. Mathematical functions, string functions, and miscellaneous functions. Now, all these I will deal in the sessions, but let me just give you a basic view on string functions. Assume your data is coming like ... physics, ... physics, but your requirement, your output is expected in such a way that no blanks are expected. Now this ... physics, ... is nothing but blank. But your output is expected in such a way that it should not have any blanks. It should just have clean and clear physics. That's it. So what we do is we trim these spaces or we trim these blanks. So we go for writing string left trim, string underscore L trim of your subject, in dot subject we write our function in such a way. So your output, what it does is string underscore L trim. You are left trimming the blanks present in subject. So you have a lot of functions like this: string L trim, left trim, string LR trim, left and right side trim, or you are getting data like branch. Suppose you have branch code as 001, but the customer is expecting to see it as a 4-digit output. In that case, you have to left pad with 0. So string L pad, string LRE pad. There are a lot of functions which I will be giving later. Or very famous one, okay, we all must be using Excel, so we all must be knowing regarding the substring. You can also perform that here, string underscore substring function. So you can perform a lot of string functions. So these are the basic built-in functions that we have here. And this is how generally it goes in ab initio related stuff. But yeah, one major thing I wanted to talk is related to the cooperating system. As I was telling you, cooperating system is generally Unix or Linux. So as I was telling, all the files will reside here. Everything resides here, and GDE communicates with the cooperating system, and it goes ahead with the development stuff. So now, for us to look at various stuff in cooperating system, a little knowledge on Unix or Linux, both mean the same, of course. So a little knowledge on Unix or Linux is quite very essential for us to go ahead with ab initio. So all I can say is, when you're going for ab initio, just have very basic knowledge at least on Unix or Linux. It can help you go much more quicker with ab initio. And yeah, so this would be the major stuff as far as demo is considered. So we have a lot of, as I was telling you, our next sessions will be followed with a lot of components that we have in ab initio. Checkpoint, restartability, debugger. We have a lot of other stuff like how do we change a serial file to multi-file, multi-files to serial files. What is an actual DML? How do we deal with the DML phases? Like what has to run after what? Right? You're developing few things, so which one has to run first? Which one has to run later? All that stuff. So we have a lot of other stuff upcoming. So this is the basic demo that I wanted to give you related to ab initio. For any doubts, you can reach me. Spandana, are you there?